All right, we're starting something new here on One Quest. We like to call That's Not What Happened. I'm Vogel, and with me is
Chris.
And basically what we're going to start doing is we're going to take movies and comic books that we love, or vice versa, and we're going to look at the movie version of it and how they changed it from the comic book, how it differs, laugh at it if we need to. So this week, we took a look at the Year One, which, I mean, the origins...
Batman Year One.
Yeah, Batman
not
Year
the
One.
Terrible Jack Black movie.
Yeah. Michael Cera. Awful. Anyway, I mean, obviously the roots for the Dark Knight trilogy, the Nolan verse, as it's called, there's so much content in this movie and they just did such a fantastic job with pulling it directly from the book into the film.
Yeah, it's just a huge influence on not just the Nolan movies, but I mean all the Batman movies, even the cartoons, like the
animated series.
Yeah, the animated series pulled some from it. The later animated series, The Batman, had a lot of connections to it. It's one of those. It is like the premier Batman story for people that are looking for Batman's origin, because no one's going to go back and read the Detective Comics from the 1930s. They're going to go, okay, that's outdated at this point. What's Batman's history? I mean, most people know his history already, but Year One's kind of like the go-to for when you want that origin story for Batman.
Absolutely. Like we said, so influential. I mean, even the Nolan verse, obviously I would hope that there's some level of understanding that any of our That's Not What Happened is going to be completely spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it or read it yet, turn it off, watch it, read it, and then, listen to our so-called riff track. But, Batman Begins, it ends almost identical to Year One. Like, the scene is almost exactly, take away the Joker card, take away Batman, and take away the Bat Signal. And
to take away the whole scene, and you have exactly what happened in the book.
You have Gordon talking about...
What he actually means is the lead up with the Joker being the next villain and all of that. It's the same in the Year One novel as it is in Batman Begins, the book. But that's actually not what we're here to talk about. We're going to be actually comparing Batman Year One, the graphic novel, to Batman Year One, the movie. The movie came out in 2011. The comics were actually released between February and May of 87 through the Batman title in issues 404 through 407. So there's a huge gap in time between when this movie was made and when the source material came out. So there's a lot of things that they changed they're really just minor differences in the book. You'll hear us talk a lot about all the scenes where Gordon was smoking. Because
the tobacco references and everything. Yeah,
it was the 80s. Everyone smoked. You could smoke wherever you wanted. There wasn't really any stopping that then. Now, this is a kids movie. They don't want kids seeing, Jim Gordon, Batman's friend, smoking a pack of cigarettes while he's waiting for his kid to be born.
Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff like that you're gonna see go away, as well as some just minor details they're gonna add to emphasis and they're gonna take away because it's really redundant. It's really not needed. Now I think this was a good place for us to start with. That's Not What Happened, mainly because the Year One was so true to the comic book. It's just really refreshing in a way. Some of the ones that we have planned in the future, and we have a lot planned, so I mean, keep tuned. But we some of the ones that I personally watched, some of my personal favorites, some of them it's almost like you've never seen it before if you've read the comic book first and then you watch the movie, or vice versa. So this one's really nice that they really stuck true to the original story.
Yeah, and plus it's like I said before, it's kind of like one of those seminal stories for Batman. And even today, even though like it's not the continuity that is followed in the comics, a lot of what happened is still what people considered true, Batman training abroad, coming back to Gotham, not knowing how he wanted to clean the city up.
Yeah, especially how bad exactly Gotham. I mean, you always assume that he's heard that Gotham's gotten worse. I mean, he grew up in Gotham, so he knows how bad Gotham was, but you're left to assume that he's heard how bad Gotham has gotten, and that's why he comes back. They don't really explain that, but he comes back and he knows that he needs to clean the filth that his hometown has turned into.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about this book, too, and the movie, it's much more from Gordon's point of view. Batman isn't the main...
Yeah, definitely.
Batman's not the main character of it, even though it's Batman Year One. Because he's still learning. He's not really Batman yet.
Yeah.
But you kind of see how...
He doesn't become Batman until the second issue. Which I'd like to point out, Cobb's reading through, he has the trade, and I have the original issues, so little breakdowns. One of the things I thought was great was in between where the issues would have ended, they do kind of have a fade to black moment just to have that pause so that you can reflect.
They do actually have those in the trade too.
Yeah.
But it's not, it
doesn't have the effect because you're not.
Yeah, because you're just reading it straight through, so it's not one of those, like, if you can imagine, you can almost imagine if you're reading the issues that, back in the 80s when people were reading it for the first time, like, they were coming out month after month. You weren't getting to read the story straight through. And those, they're cliffhanger endings for some of these issues.
Oh, yeah, issue 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which, you'll see what we're talking about as we go through, but it's kind of crazy that something like this was made so long ago, and the movie the movie's almost brand new, but it's still...
take away some tobacco references, and it's almost modern. It's really, really well done. One of the things that you see lost in translation, I think, from the years gone by, and Cobb and I have discussed this to length, is a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the internal monologue of the book. A lot of the book is told by internal monologue that is left out. Some of it is lost when they leave it out of the book, of the movie, but they need dialogue to keep it going, keep the viewer interested. But the voice actor who plays Bruce Wayne Batman, when he's acting as Bruce Wayne, he's very stiff. He's very I can't describe it.
We point this out a lot later on.
We point it out a lot, but we love the Batman. Whenever he is Batman, he is Batman, and
it's almost the opposite of Christian Bale in the movies, because a lot of people are fine with his portrayal of Bruce Wayne, and then they hate.
Well, he is an arrogant asshole.
Yeah, they hate the Batman voice. They hate that I'm Batman.
Well, you know what? If we're gonna take a tangent real quick on that, that's not really his fault, because in the Batman Begins, he just kind of had a darker, raspier voice slightly, and then he had that, I swear to God, I don't know, and then he's like, swear to me. Everyone's like, that should be your voice the entire time. So then Dark Knight comes out, and he used that voice the entire time, and then everyone bitches at it. Yeah. But we digress. Back to year one.
So yeah, without any more, back and forth about this, let's get started. We'll actually let you know exactly when the movie's starting, and if you want to kind of watch along and play this as commentary,
Yeah, commentary, riff track, however you want to call it. We do laugh at it every once in a while, but
there's some quiet points where we're just watching the movie.
Yeah, we're enjoying it ourselves. There's parts where we skip because we're too busy talking about stuff, so enjoy. And, yeah.
Let us know what you think after it's all over.
The beginning of this movie starts pretty interesting. The fact that they switch Gordon and Bruce coming, in the book, Gordon comes first on the train complaining about the train. You'll see that soon.
From here, it looks like an achievement.
They literally took a 1.5 frame and turned it into the first minute and a half of the movie.
The nice thing is they pretty much keep the dialogue word for word from the book.
Yeah, they change a little bit here, but yeah, it is pretty close.
Yeah, Gordon's is a little different. But he still has the general gist.
Yeah, I mean, they have the breastfeeding mother. They have the confrontation. But yeah, it's pretty close. It's really good. They did really well, especially this next part coming up. The book salesman. Everything this guy fucking says is word for word.
Even his confrontation with Flass.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually. The artwork, it's not the same as the book, but just the way everyone was drawn is really similar to...
It's a very similar art style, yeah, but the difference is everyone's more attractive in the movie. Everyone, Flass, Gordon, later you see Essen, like they're all a lot more attractive, a lot less wrinkles, a lot less age lines.
Well, it's also the difference between 2011
and
digital art and 1985
85, something
art.
I thought this came out after the Joker, or the Tim Burton Batman.
It came out in 87. It ran from February to May, so.
Gotcha. Now you get the introduction of he just left the city because he sold out a dirty cop, and he's already got to worry about more dirty cops.
And then here's Bruce Wayne coming back to Gotham.
Which this they kind of... Some of it, like some of the murmuring, like the Princess Caroline, it's like that's straight from the book. Very nice touch. That's a lot of this movie is little nice touches like that, but then the main points they alter more to make it... I think they do some of it just to make it interesting for the people that read the book.
And it's actually kind of funny with the news reporter. In the movie, they call her Vicky Vale. In the book, it's actually Jackie. I think that was just one of those...
Yeah,
they were trying to just include a name that people would be familiar with.
Hey, remember Kim Basinger? Now, this scene I felt was a little lost. Throughout this whole movie, modern day rating system, they got rid of any tobacco reference in this entire movie. And he does have a thought about, the smell of those eucalyptus cough drops and how much they affect that he really needs that nicotine just to get the smell of the eucalyptus away, which, you completely lose that.
And he was smoking a lot throughout it.
Everyone
smoked a lot because it was the 80s. You could smoke everywhere.
Yeah. One of the frames that I plan on bringing up later is when he's waiting for his son to be born. There's like 2 packs of cigarettes in that ashtray.
Yeah,
and obviously
in a hospital.
In a hospital.
No. For some reason, I really didn't like the voice for Alfred in this.
I didn't like the voice for Bruce either.
Voice for Bruce is the actor from the OC.
Yeah, when he's playing the Batman, his voice is better, but
I kind of wish they just always stuck with the same voice actor for Batman. Like Kevin Conroy is
Batman, yeah.
Gordon, I think Bryan Cranston did a really good job with Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Now this scene, a little instigation which they leave out is he was actually drinking cough syrup in the comic book on the way to this scene.
But it's still one of those
standards and practices. Like they can't show that.
And then Flass was drinking it, not the kid.
Yeah, Flass was drinking it while he was driving up. But a lot of the thoughts that Gordon just went through, they were spot on.
They were delivered differently, kind of. Like it almost sounds like in the book he's just kind of taking notes. In the movie it's more like he's taking notes. In the book it's more like he's emotional. He's kind of like mad at himself for not reacting, but at the same time
he wanted to make
staying on top of everything that's going on.
This is one of another scene so quickly where they kind of switch it up backwards, if I remember.
They actually just added a lot to it because he...
Yeah, well, yeah, in the book, I mean, he's just kneeling at the grave sites. But I think some of it's taken from later when he is having his own personal monologue.
And up here, they actually added a little bit.
Yeah, this is extended a lot further.
Man, Fleiss is a jerk.
He's an asshole, and I love the call me lieutenant. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, Jimmy. He's a dick.
Yeah, like all this car action stuff didn't happen
everything.
at all in the book. It was just
like they imply that there is a car chase, but there's no car flipping. There's no pulling the gun. There's
a lot of the text is still there though.
Yeah.
The whole "you need to do this, Jimmy," and Gordon saying "call me lieutenant." That's direct.
And straight from the frame. Yeah. This scene this scene bothers me. It's a running theme in this movie. Now, the date here is like February 12th. She's only been pregnant for like 6 weeks, and yet she's got like the body of maybe a 3-month pregnant woman, 4-month pregnant woman. Like, she should not be showing it at all. And, you know, being a father, I know what that looks like.
Yeah, it's also not in the book at all.
Yeah, the whole scene is not in the book.
Now, this coming up scene is pretty much a straight transfer from the book. The moves he does, the everything. Even the dialogue is spot on.
Yeah, like he just kicked the fucking tree in half. And that is exactly straight from the book. But a lot of the monologue, the inner monologue, I feel of Bruce Wayne as the voice actor, was a little stiff in the delivery, which can be lost in translation of 20 some odd years, but
it was Kevin Conroy, it'd be better.
Now this part bothered me as well. You know, Loeb actually goes in to say, like, basically he gives Flash permission to retaliate on Gordon, but he says, wait until I leave, I'm going to Washington. Like, he flat out says, you have to wait until I'm at the conference in Washington, 2 weeks, Flash. And then it skips ahead, and it does the scene that's going to come up next with Bruce, and then this scene, which is still a little different. The book's delivery is all monologue. A lot of the book's delivery is monologue, so they had to change it to dialogue just to keep the viewer interested.
But at least you still get the idea that Gordon's not the old man that you're used to seeing in like the Batman like cartoon.
Oh yeah,
like he can actually handle himself. Just
I mean,
not
could
against
you imagine
7 guys with baseball bats?
Could you imagine the Tim Burton Commissioner Gordon like in a fight like that? No, hell no. Like,
even Gary Oldman would be a stretch.
Gary Oldman,
like
but
his Gordon wasn't the physical Gordon. He was
not. He was the mental.
Yeah.
He was the line. Like, he was, you know, the purity. That's what he represented, and
that's what Gordon usually represents.
Yeah, I love Gary Oldman. He's one of my favorite actors.
It's funny how similar this was in the book too.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought they would change it up, especially with Holly and the line that she has. Just, I mean, they cut out cigarettes and drinking in the car, but they leave in a 12-year-old prostitute who says that she's as young as you want her to be.
Absolutely.
And then they have a pimp backhander.
Yep.
And of course, this is coming up, the introduction of Selina Kyle to Batman. Pre-Catwoman.
There's actually, it's not, I don't know if it's part of your collection, because I have the original 4 issues and you have the book, but there's actually an alternate version of issue 1 from Selina Kyle's point of view, where she was never really a prostitute. She actually was posing as a prostitute to get Marks to steal money, which they touch on in The Dark Knight Rises.
That was actually not in the originals. That's a retcon that came out later on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They re-released it.
Yeah, when they re-released it, because they wanted to show that they didn't want to have Catwoman have started out as a hooker, so the whole thing was she was just putting on this act of being a hooker.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that came out, I think, quite a bit later. I think it was Catwoman Year One, actually, that you find that out. Because DC went through a big string of Year Ones. You have all the Batman Year One, and then after a little while you hit Robin Year One, there's Catwoman Year One, Nightwing Year One.
Well, that's something people don't realize. You know, everything's a remake. I mean, everyone knows that, obviously, but the big thing with the comic books is they really set precedent for the origins. Like, you know, when Magneto ripped the adamantium off of Wolverine and you find out that he has the bone claws, like, that made people want to know his backstory even more than they already did. And this, like, came out before that even, and it was like a true origins tale, retelling a story everybody knows, but in a new way.
Yeah. Well, this was also one of those things where it really kind of made people look at Batman differently. The Frank Miller stuff and a lot of the other stuff in the 80s is where we get that, like, dark, brooding Batman that we're so used to now.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was a lot more, you know...
cartoony.
Well, not even cartoony. It was more of the Burt Ward, Robin, and the...
Adam West
Batman. Like,
it's comical.
Like, he was still the Dark Knight. He was still, like, a force to be reckoned with, but he wasn't, you know, as dark and tormented.
Now, this part actually bothered me a little bit because, you know, his pure brute strength, like the first time I watched this film, he broke the handcuffs in the book, and I was waiting for that to happen, and it doesn't. And then he gets out of the cop car, and the handcuffs are just gone. Like, they disappeared.
Not only that, but he gets out of the cop car, and he like, even in the book, he throws the door off.
Yeah.
If you're going to show that in the movie, show that he also
just
rips the
snaps the handcuffs right off. Yeah.
He didn't just, you know, lift his ass over them.
Yep.
With a gunshot wound.
Which, that's another part, is this wasn't touched on enough, because in the book, he got the key in the ignition, no problem, but he didn't have the strength to turn it right away. And that really shows the weakness of how much adrenaline it took for him to do the previous scene and now. And, you know, they cut out the cocaine reference of this scene, which I thought was pretty funny. If you haven't read the book, I'll put up a frame when I do the video version, but it's just from passerby, like, isn't that Bruce Wayne's car? What is he on? It's like cocaine. That's what rich people do. Like,
yeah, that was great. And I mean, it also just points out that Gordon actually knows who Bruce Wayne is at this point.
he doesn't know. He doesn't know who Bruce Wayne is, because it's the other car that's saying it's Bruce Wayne. It's not him. He just thinks it's some maniac. It's the other car that's saying.
You know what? I honestly didn't notice that when I was reading it. Because he makes a reference about he references the Porsche and then says he should, you know, go pull him over or arrest him.
He doesn't know about Bruce Wayne until Essen tells him about Bruce Wayne. This part they kind of cut short just to, you know, for time purposes, but Flash wasn't really, like, until the third or fourth person to come out of that building.
Yeah, he was the last one to leave the other guy's house. But I mean, the rest of the scene is pretty spot on.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Gordon play the kind of the aggressive part here too.
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
in the book, it was just you never really see Gordon as the fighter, like I was saying before. I mean, even in in The Killing Joke, the Joker pretty much just takes control of him, no problem.
Yeah,
and I mean, not that's completely different content,
but he still holds control.
Yeah, and in this, he's like,
if I remember correctly, the direct line of The Killing Joke is still, like, I'm fine, go get him. You need to take him in.
Yeah, well,
he needs to know that our way works. Like, that's Gordon. Like I said, he's the purity.
Yeah, he's mentally stronger. But, like, this scene shows that he's actually physically able to handle stuff, too. I love the Green Beret line in it, too.
Oh, yeah. Especially, you know, he throws in the baseball bat just to give him the handicap.
Then puts his gun
away. I don't crack his skull. I don't crush his larynx.
I do just enough to
keep him out of the hospital, which I don't think they say any of that in the movie. And
I think it's coming up, actually.
the one thing that I don't get, like, kind of bugged me about the movie and the book is, what is it with stripping people naked? Like, he strips Flash naked and handcuffs him here, and then Batman does it to the Roman in the next issue.
It's the 80s. That's like the big, like, FU, especially for, like, Flash, who, like Gordon says, he'll never admit that it was Gordon that did it. He'll just simply say that it was, 10 guys and he got jumped and all that other stuff. With the exception of the of Bruce crashing into the building, he actually crashes into another car. But the rest of this is my favorite part of this part of the issue in the movie. It's spot on. Everything about this part, talking to his father through the statue, the outcome of what's to come next, the flashback, everything I felt was spot on. It's my favorite part of the film. Even just the way he's sitting with like his hand with the blood and the bell and everything. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just a scene straight from the book. The only thing different is in the book, they do a lot. You see a lot more detail of Bruce in it. Mm-hmm. In the book, it's just it's a lot of text and it's all these silhouettes and far shots. The only real detailed shot you get is of his hand covered in blood with the bell. Right. Except the one shot, I have to disagree. There is one. Here, when his parents get shot and he is sitting over their dead body, they do a close up on his face that is straight frame for frame. Well, I didn't so much mean the flashbacks. I meant like him sitting in the chair. You don't really see him. Right, yeah, he's always shrouded in shadow. Yeah, there's one frame, I know exactly what you're talking about, where it's him with the shadow coming in from the window pane, and you see all the blood and the scratch on his face, and he's just ready to die. Yeah. Until, boom, his symbol comes in. And now we know why he's Batman. At least in this universe. Well, I think generally the whole year one stuff is generally held to be... It's the current canon. It's canon, but it's not, because you have, like Gordon's oldest child isn't his son, as far as I know. Everything I've ever read, it's always Barbara's older. And you figure he meets Dick within a year of becoming Batman. Okay. Dick and Barbara are about the same age. So there's no way that he's having a baby now, and he doesn't have a 13-year-old daughter somewhere already. Right. Yeah. Plus his wife in the comics, or his ex-wife, I should say, is a redhead. Yeah. I felt this part was a little rushed. It's a matter of minute or so where he goes from the point where he's hearing the garbled message, and then he finds out that Brandon's on duty, and then he starts racing, and that's a full page, and a full page of comic can be translated. I mean, you saw in the end of the last issue, a full page of comic can be translated in 5 minutes. Well, they also, as far as I can remember, they don't actually touch on like the fact that it was Barbara that made him the coffee and all that in the movie. But I did like the it is the world's greatest dad cup. I love that. Yeah. And later they show Barbara watching it, and it's the baby with the arrow pointing down to her stomach. Yeah. Yeah, I love, like I said, the little imagery is like right here. That's great. Yeah, I mean that's the same exact thing in the book too, which is awesome. I mean, coming up is actually one of the other few times that they really kind of add to the movie. Yeah. Yeah, there's like slight line changes with this Psycho, with what he says exactly, but it's the same thing, basically. He said this fibrillate earlier, and then, he goes into the no lunch, no gangrene lunch. And, the cat, everything, that's... Now, the cat doesn't distract him, but it's in the frame. I like how they pulled from the comic book and made it their own. I think they did that in the movie, though, to kind of show that Gordon wasn't taking a risk, really.
Yeah, he
in the-
saw an
in the-
opportunity and he jumped.
Yeah, in the book, he just kind of
He just does
takes
it.
them.
Yeah.
And then they completely add that
Which
whole
is kind
scene
of
with
out
the
of
kids,
character
too.
for him, but giving the gum to the kids is completely in character to show them, like, I'm the good guy.
It helps a little bit with this scene, too, that they had that just few seconds with the kids.
Yeah.
Because you see, even in the comic, they mention that, like, the press really likes him.
Yeah.
You don't get that if you don't see that he
Yeah.
actually
He just says
interacted
he's a
with the
hero.
kids.
This scene, this is one of the few scenes that I like it better in the film than I like it in the book. Because they're in the book, it's just he's at the gun range, then he's feeling a kick. In the movie, they're making it like it's going back and forth, and he's thinking about he's got this wife who's pregnant in this shitty town, and this is what he has to go through. He hates the gun, he hates the job, but he does it because he knows he has to.
This is actually pretty similar right here, too.
Yeah. Except for the cigarette.
Yeah.
Except for this actually, In Front of the Moon with Batman coming out. That's completely unneeded. That was not a cut from his window. That was completely different.
Yeah, it
part
was
of
a
the
different
town.
scene.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because in the book, she is far less pregnant than she is here in the scene.
Yeah, she's still got a nice
she's where
little
she
curve.
should be.
Yeah.
She's 3-4 months along in the book.
Right.
In this, it's she looks like she's 10 months pregnant.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the rest of the scene is pretty right. I mean, the whole back rub, and he gets the call that he has to go. Yeah. And here's the first time we actually see Batman.
In action, anyway. Because you see him jumping across the roof a few frames ago.
Yeah. But that's really just it's a quick transition frame.
Now, I'm not sure how other people would take this scene, but I really think that it illustrates not so much the ignorance, but the apathy of the criminals in this town. Because you're going to presume that 3 guys are robbing an apartment together, that they're buddies. And he's holding the guy, stopping him from dying. And they're still taking pot shots at him, and he could drop him at any time.
Yeah, they just don't care. It also just shows just how, inexperienced Bruce really is as this vigilante.
Yeah.
I mean, he says it better in the book that he's not prepared for this. He doesn't know, like, he didn't go into it correctly.
Yeah.
I like that in this, the 3 drawings on the back of the wall here.
It's exactly
are the exact same 3 drawings that they have in the book.
Yeah, that's good. I like how they overemphasize Essen. Because like I said earlier, they make everyone more attractive. And not that Essen isn't attractive in the book, but they definitely made her more attractive in the movie.
Again, that's one of those things where it's...
And they give her the cat call, and they whistle. That's not even touched on in the book. They don't even care that she's there. They're just worried about the fact that Flash got his ass kicked by some Batman. And
it's one of those things where it's the... It's the difference between somebody that hand drew this 25 years ago as opposed to all the digital art that they do now.
Yeah. Even as like, if you're sitting there listening to this story, like, you just know it's complete bullshit. Like, in the comic book, he even says that he pulls a .357 Magnum, and I hadn't apprehended his weapon yet. Like, yeah, bullshit. And then more people pull their guns out that I haven't gotten yet. Like... The culmination of this scene was great. The last page, it's at least in my issue, it's page 16 of issue 2.
Page 35, 36 of the trade.
I'm sorry, 14. But yeah, it's straight out of the book. It's perfect.
Well, there's a little more inner monologue with Batman when he's tranking all those drivers.
Yeah.
Because he actually says how only a few of them are
only
armed.
3 of them are awake, and only half
few
of them
are sleeping.
Yeah. Not a few of them are sleeping. A few of them are awake.
Yeah, that's...
like, more of them are sleeping than are awake. They're comfortable. That they don't think that they have any opposition.
Yeah, I mean, this is the elite of Gotham. These are the guys running it. Who, it's funny, anyone that actually reads the current Batman run, you have to wonder if these guys are all supposed to be part of the Court of Owls. Like, I mean, granted, this, obviously was written long before those characters were ever thought up, but if they were to retcon it into, current canon, would they say that, these guys that were running Gotham like this were members of the court, or was the court still the shadowy figures running them?
Yeah, clipping the wire, the tear gas blowing apart the wall, shadowy silhouette coming in from the night. It's impeccable. Like, it's so well done, this whole scene.
And all of Batman's stuff is spot on, even with the flaming tray and putting the lid on it. And I mean, the voice acting is a lot better while he's Batman.
Yeah. I
actor,
said that earlier, yeah.
I said where he was from earlier, but his name's Benjamin McKenzie.
Okay.
And I mean, he's very kind of dry and stiff as Bruce Wayne, and he's a lot more, he sounds more intense as
Especially
Batman.
later when they meet, when it's Gordon and Barbara, and
Yeah.
they go to Wayne Manor. It's very stiff.
Which I guess it works to an extent, but at the same time, you're like, no, like, he should be, he's putting on an act, he should be acting a little better.
Yeah.
This is another scene with the fake ambush that was pretty much spot on.
Yeah, they just extended it a little further here. Because in the book, Batman says, like, he's wasting time and, manpower on these traps. And then that's it. Like, he sees them and then it's done. In this, it goes further to prove that, yes, it is a trap, that this is Essen and another cop, and Gordon's waiting in that car. But that was completely implied. It leads right into another extended scene, which I think really hits, like, this part actually kind of hits it in. Just, he looks over, and you have to imagine that, the amount of balls that these criminals have, and how their underling would be when he's supposed to go get the car, his favorite car, and it's not there. Like, he's shitting bricks.
Yeah. And here's Harvey Dent for the first time.
Harvey Dent.
Which is a shame. Being when this was written, I kind of wish that it was a black Harvey Dent to play along with Billy D. Williams in the 89 movie.
Yep.
So I'm sure at this point in 87, casting was already done back then, I would assume.
Possibly.
Or at least, something like that. I just think it'd be funny if he was, modeled after Billy D. Williams, kind of the way Sam Jackson is the model for Ultimate Nick Fury.
It's funny because Tim Burton does credit Killing Joke to one of his inspirations for the first Batman that he does, and I mean, even in that, there's that quick one frame of Harvey Dent where shadow from behind bars. One side of the bar is regular, one side of the bar is acid burnt.
I like how that in that scene in the book, Batman is actually just crouched between Dent's desk during the whole Gordon thing.
He's not outside the window.
Yeah, in this, he's actually outside the window.
So, like I said earlier, this is when Gordon really finds out about Bruce Wayne. Like, I honestly don't think that he knows anything more than rumors of Bruce Wayne. I don't think he realizes that he's the richest person in town.
This scene leads into a lot of stuff with Essen later on.
Yes.
And again, they completely cut out the whole cigarette.
Which that actually increases the sexual tension of the scene, but they cut it out because of the whole cigarette.
Yeah, because in the book, Essen lights a cigarette for Gordon and then passes it to him.
Yeah.
And he thinks in his head, I'm already tasting her lipstick on the cigarette.
Right.
And then it goes right into this whole car accident scene.
Not to mention that she grabbed his knee.
Yeah.
Don't move! Lieutenant, you alright? I called for backup.
Essen. Stop.
And that's when they learn not to turn your back on the Batman.
Yeah.
And that was really the point where Gordon starts to realize that the Batman isn't all that bad.
Yeah. But the difference is in the movie, he kind of just shoves her out of the way, and in the book, he just gives her a stiff palm right to the face.
Well, he grabs the gun, moves it aside, and...
Yeah.
No one fires without my order.
And then this... The page, the last page of issue 2 is just... It's just great. Right here, you know, this is the second to last page, him saying, you know, he hasn't done anything, hold down, we don't need to do this. And then you hear the helicopter, he just says, no, oh no, looks up, and the helicopter drops the firebomb. And it's just a great ending.
And it really shows what sort of, like... city Gotham is,
and the lengths that he'll go to stop him.
Yeah, that their police chief can order firebombing.
Yeah,
in a city. Regardless, I don't remember if they actually mention it in the book or not, but they do point out that the building was condemned; it was ready to be torn down. So there's no one living in there except for a couple homeless people.
Yeah,
that the Gotham City Police Department just doesn't give a shit about.
Yeah, I do know that they do say that there were just a few winos and whatnot, but. I can't remember if they do that. I wish that he would explain that it was thermite. Me personally,
his belt just lights on fire.
Me personally, I know what thermite is. I've made thermite, so but if you don't know what thermite is right off the top of your head, you're not going to know you would have no idea why that just started fizzling.
Yeah. Or why he, didn't just take whatever's out of it and throw it off to the side or whatever.
Right.
And now you see why Selina eventually becomes Catwoman. And in the book, it was a little more drawn out, too, with her talking to the cats before Holly ever started.
Yeah. And then she's feeding them and everything.
Yeah, it wasn't just straight,
Yeah.
She wakes up and then it's, let's go see what's going on.
Yeah, she's actually paying more attention to her cats than she is to Holly talking about the firebombing.
Yeah. And the dialogue in this part's a little different, but it's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think it holds up just fine.
I mean, you can change what a SWAT team's saying, because really that dialogue's not important. It's not adding anything to the story.
Yeah, and
but
some of it is straight out, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're sending the SWAT team in to kill Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't do anything at this point.
Yeah, they're not sending him to apprehend Batman. They're sending him to kill Batman.
That was the quickest turnaround for police backup I've ever seen in anything, too. Within, a couple of minutes, they have the SWAT team, ambulances, squad cars, and a fire bomb going on.
One of the lines that I did miss from the book right here is, and I'm just kind of a little over analytical, I guess, but after they fire into that high voltage plate, they do get on the walkie and say, hold your positions, that was just precautionary fire. And that's something that, if you didn't read the book, then you would wonder, why didn't the SWAT team all converge on to where the firing was taking place?
Yeah.
But then again, I overanalyze everything. I did like the added when he smashed those two SWAT members together,
where they show him rise up behind them first.
Their bulletproof shield, the mask shields, they shatter. That's how hard he slams them together.
There's actually the scene coming up too that mimics earlier, which I'll point out when we actually get to it. I thought that it's a little different in the book, and I like the book better because Holly actually is standing on a police cruiser. She's not just walking past the line, which shows that A, they didn't really set up a very good perimeter because this little girl managed to climb on a police cruiser with, the crowd right behind it.
Right.
But also that she really doesn't understand how dangerous of a situation it is. She just wants to see if it's really Batman in there.
Yeah. And one of the things, if you don't pay attention, this cat is actually the cat, like one of the cats that Selina's cats. It's not that she just randomly walks up to Selina after, well, when it gets to it, but that it followed Selina to the thing and went into the building.
Oh, and real quick, the thing that's happening right now with the sonic device
for Batman Begins, yeah.
Not only is it exactly the same way in the book, but if you've seen Nolan's Batman Begins, which at this point who hasn't, that's almost exactly the same thing as the movie, just in a different scenario. I mean, he's in a building like this. He needs to get out of the building. Yeah. It's just he has Katie Holmes to love with him in that. And I mean, Batman Begins, a lot of it was inspired by parts of Batman Year One. Yeah,
there is one scene coming up to do with the bats that I'll point out when it gets to it. But that it really bothered me. Now with the cat, like I said, it jumps up to Selina. Now this is what Cobb was just talking about. You'll see something from earlier.
And I like how Brandon or whatever his name is.
They pronounce it Brendan in the movie, but it says Brandon in the book.
That's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But he takes off his helmet.
Yeah, I don't get that.
And he does it in the book too. I think he did it. No, no, he does not.
No, and in the book, the reason why he's so aggressive with Brandon, they don't explain in the movie, is for the simple fact that he flat out says, you're the one that just shot at a cat. Starts beating the shit out of him and then throws him out of the building. That wasn't that quick.
Yeah, and I miss bringing it up, but the scene where he kicks the pillar down, it's almost an exact duplicate of when he kicks the tree in half at the beginning while he's training.
Yeah, we're a talkative bunch. I like that. I like whipping out the riot baton. It's just a great scene.
Yeah, the fight scene is definitely better in the movie, which, I mean, it's really hard to...
It's animated.
Yeah, it's hard to really compare a fight scene on a comic page to a fight scene in a movie.
It's only a third of the page.
Yeah, exactly.
And they turn it into like 45 seconds. Now, this is what I was talking about. This part bothered me because in the book, Batman gets away because of the bats. The helicopter keeps following the bats. And then they realize that Batman is gone. Yeah. The bats don't attack the helicopter. So that kind of bothered me. But it was still cool that they had the cop cars jumping off the dock.
Yeah.
They're paying too far attention to the bats that they don't see that they're about to drive off a dock.
But it's also, I mean, it's a little anticlimactic in the book how it's just, Batman was there and then they followed the bats and he wasn't there. This at least adds that little bit of tension, like, oh man, they found him. He's already shot up. Are they going to shoot him again and he's going to do something else?
Right.
That's a little similar to The Dark Knight Rises too, when he's escaping on the motorcycle.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think it's not any sort of actual, it's a coincidence, really.
Yeah. Now this scene, with the exception of the suit store, it's identical. Everything is identical. Selina and Holly lying on the table, getting the shots, and
even the dialogue.
And Holly wincing, and the dialogue, and everything.
You never have so many.
Have
so much trouble sitting down.
This picture. The only difference is this just shows the wreckage, but in the book, I feel you can just make out the silhouette of a dead body. In the lower left-hand corner, you can see the dead hand sticking up.
I do think it's a shame that they cut out the suit scene.
Yeah,
because in the book where they go that a suit dealer a few blocks away opened his store a few hours later, and
there was a suit missing.
Suit was missing, and the money for it was on the counter.
Yep.
This is pretty much spot on too, like most of the book to the movie has been.
Yeah.
Except once again for the cigarettes.
And they skip that that Bruce does go to Switzerland, and he does like to go skiing.
Yeah, it's funny. He's actually seeing, but they do point out that he had somebody there
pretending to be him. Yeah. Now this was actually I feel that's out of character for Gordon to say that to her, that, you know, whoever says you're too masculine is whoever said you're too masculine must have been blind, deaf, or dead. Yeah, but this was all internal monologue. This was supposed to be a very innocent, grabbing coffees as co-workers, him just thinking to himself the entire time. And then the tension just keeps building and building and building from earlier. Her lighting the cigarette for him, her grabbing his leg. But this whole scene is extended on top of, changed into a dialogue rather than an internal monologue.
And just to jump back for 1 second, just before this scene started, you actually see Selena deciding that she's done being a prostitute as far as, you know, this story's concerned. But it's obviously that this was film, or not film, but that this story was made in the 80s because there's people smoking in a diner.
Yeah.
And you can't smoke anywhere anymore.
Well, nowadays, yeah.
You can't. Half the places don't even want you smoking right outside of their establishment. You need to be so many feet away and all.
Yeah.
The kiss happens pretty much the same way too. It's just there's a lot more internal thought to Gordon and how he's going back and forth with it and everything, and talking about the situation that they're in and how they're in a doorway.
And it's about to get even more intense in the book, anyway.
And there was Catwoman a few minutes ago.
This part, that part with them standing there kissing isn't in the book, but this internal monologue of him referring to her as Sarah and realizing that, you know, he really shouldn't be doing that, and he's hurting Barbara. Like, that's almost straight from the page. And in this, I have to say though, in the book, she is visibly pregnant. Like, she's finally, because this is August, and if I remember correctly, the baby's born in September.
I think it's actually October.
So she's getting there.
And she's visibly pregnant in both of them.
Yeah.
And she actually looks the same in both.
Yeah.
And I like how
that frame is set up exactly the same.
And Gordon's actually holding the gun, which is nice.
Yeah. And this scene, completely different, in my opinion, just because of one thing. He's giving her a gift. For no reason, he's giving her a bracelet, which kind of pushes her to say, if your wife wasn't pregnant, would you, like, you know, and then, you know, then she apologizes. And then it goes on to, then it shows the scene where they're kissing, and he has an internal monologue saying that this needs to stop. She's being transferred, or she's putting in for a transfer because it's the best thing to do. This is all actually not in the book. They add this quick little interrogation.
It's a good introduction to that character since he plays in later.
Yeah.
But from right after that, it's part of it with Batman climbing the building and everything.
It's actually straight from the 80s, though, in the book, though, because it's actually, you know, it not even borders on racism. It's just the fact that she flat out says, like, it's already bad enough that you're black. And then tells her, like, you know, wear a blue suit with a tie and none of that pimp stuff.
Yeah. And I like that we actually get to see what Batman does to him, rather than just the quick shot of, you know, he's sitting there, then all of a sudden he's on the floor, the table's broken, and Batman's choking him out.
Right.
Sometimes I share it.
And that whole dialogue, monologue, was spot on, exactly from the book.
Yeah, I definitely like the Batman dialogue a lot better than like the Bruce Wayne stuff.
Yeah,
regardless of how it's delivered.
Yeah,
just the lines that Batman says they're more intense.
It almost feels like it's different writers that they actually did that, so much of a detached writing that they had.
This was a little different. In the book, it was just this one small little screen of glass. Here you actually see him kind of mobbed by the police or by the press.
Whereas that scene was taken directly directly from the frame. I mean, Brandon's on the wrong side of Loeb, but who the fuck cares? Like,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same.
Even the clown picture in the background.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of the pop memorabilia that Loeb has, there's a scene later that I find it funny of the change that they make to it. But I'll get to that when I get to it. They had a quick little scene here as well that wasn't in the book, with Gordon and his wife. Just having a quick checkup because now they're only about a week. They're only 2 weeks before the baby comes, so last minute checkups. But that's not in the book.
It also explains why his wife came with him to the next stop. Which this next scene was very similar to the book, but I feel like they skipped some of like the stuff with Gordon kind of explaining it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he talks about Alfred, and
Yeah.
This isn't just Bruce Wayne has just gotten back from skiing. He's been sick and had other things going on, and
Right.
today he has a hangover, and he's still drinking with some girl he doesn't know, and a lot of the dialogue between Gordon and Bruce and everything is the same, but those few little bits of like internal thought for
that
Gordon,
leaves it a bit lacking.
It's set up a lot for why Bruce is kind of hunched over with a cane.
Right.
Not only was he shot and hurt and all, but he's hung over. He just got over the flu. Like, of course you're going to be hurting after a week like that.
Right. There's a quip here. Actually, there's one thing real quick that they do in the movie that I don't know if you would have noticed or if you did notice, but he opens his legs and Barbara like shies away.
Yeah.
And then when he says, I love the quip that she gives when he says that he doesn't know her name. And she just like, yeah, that must be convenient.
It's a little funny. If you watch like a few scenes ago, he was pouring what I'm assuming is supposed to be wine in the movie.
Champagne.
It was
brown. In the movie, it's wine.
It's brown, so it's wine. In the book, though, it's
champagne.
And after they leave,
It's
Alfred actually says, "Is it okay to pour the rest of the sparkling water back into, or the rest of the club soda back into the proper container?"
And well, if you remember that she says, like, "What's with you people?" Like, grape juice. She says that it's grape juice. So
I thought the Alfred line was better with the club soda than the grape juice line, because really coming from some random girl is nothing.
Yeah, I feel
coming
that
from Alfred, it's like, well, it's Alfred. His one-liners are always better.
I feel that the escort's job was done in the book very well. Like, it was over. No more of her. That's it. Like, I felt
that's what's happening right now. That's where you get like her extra dialogue. She said nothing in the book.
Where, when, and how much money you receive. You're facing 10 years in prison, my friend. That's excuses live enough to justify.
My client didn't mean that.
this is that whole scene was actually straight from the book. I love just the visual irony of this scene. She reaches down and grabs the phone, and there's the picture of the happy family, but the words coming out of her mouth and look in his face of the shame is just,
Yeah, I mean, it shows Gordon's character too, that he actually
he feels bad.
He came out and told her, and
right.
I think even if he hadn't pretty much been blackmailed by Loeb, he still would have probably come out and told her, because Jim Gordon, he's like the north pointing compass.
Yeah, this quick scene isn't in the book either, where he comes in saying, still going to testify like that. That wasn't in there.
And I like how they show off all of his memorabilia too, which is talked about soon.
Yeah.
And here's what you were pointing out earlier, where they're in a hospital, she's having the baby, and whereas here he's reading a magazine.
He's going through magazine after magazine, and the thing is, he's got an overflowing, he's strung out 5 o'clock shadow, he hasn't probably slept in a day.
And he probably smoked a carton worth of cigarettes.
This part was what I was going to talk about with the pop memorabilia.
Yeah.
She's got Huckleberry Hound, which she has just like a baby doll. or like some kind of doll, and she throws an Elmer Fudd at the TV, and in the comic book it's Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, she ripped Charlie Brown's head off.
yeah, she rips Charlie Brown's head off and throws it at the TV.
And I can't tell what Holly was playing with though.
Because in the next
it looks like it might be like a Casper or
no, because Casper didn't have feet.
Yeah, Casper didn't have feet. That's true. I don't know. It's just like this nondescript toy.
Yeah. There was an unneeded, quick little newscast about the plastic that allows Bruce to fly like that. But like I said, it was unneeded. They cut it from the film. This scene is pretty good. This really shows the extent of how far the Roman's gonna go, because he's just fed up with Batman and he's fed up with Gordon.
It's nice because you get a lot more of like the story about these guys if you read more of the Year One stuff. Like if you go on to The Long Halloween and Dark Victory, it hasn't hit that super villain thing yet. Like you have the Joker kind of showing up, and that's the introduction of Two-Face. But Batman is still very much a vigilante going after just the criminal underworld in Gotham, not these huge, powerful supervillains like Bane or Clayface or any of that crap.
I liked the "Here, Kitty, Kitty." That wasn't in the book. I thought that was a nice touch. But I did like the "Thanks for wasting my time," which was altered slightly. He just says "wasting my time," like you dumb bitch, you're wasting my time.
Yeah, I like later on when they call her his assistant.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it really shows in the book that she's a psychopath. Like, she really is just out to cause chaos. Like, that's what she's for.
I love that with Alfred too.
Yeah.
Like that's the sort of thing that you just expect from him, where he's sitting there reading the newspaper, and it's the same thing in the book. He's pretty much telling him he's losing his mind.
It's the sociopathic criminal makeup of Batman, and he's just reading it off to him.
Here's what I was talking about, where they call Catwoman Batman's assistant. Do you notice she never wears pants?
Yeah. Yeah, and in the book she's like, assistant, now I'm his assistant.
I'll do something really nasty next time.
Yeah. But the look on her face isn't so much of a sarcasm as it's I really need to fuck someone up so they don't think I'm with the Batman.
Yeah, exactly. This is a little different dialogue-wise, but
extended.
The point still gets across.
Absolutely. This is one of the things I wish they hadn't changed, but I guess it was a licensing problem. Is
the phone?
The phone, yeah. Oh, it actually spiked up on my... Yeah, if you don't have kids, the way they cry in movies is never as bad as they cry in real life.
Did you ever actually do that? Put the bottle on the stove and heat it up that way?
Yeah, I've done that before. We kept a glass measuring cup of water, and we would just pop it in the microwave and then put that in there because it was faster.
Yeah, most people, nowadays, because this is based off something in the 80s, everyone I've ever seen do that sort of, baby bottle stuff, they would just heat the water up in the microwave or, something else and then put it into the bottle because for that you have to wait for the water to heat up, and the microwave, here's 5 seconds of warm water.
Yep. Yeah. This scene, there was actually an internal monologue that I felt they left too much for inference, because he looks back and he realizes that the motorcyclist just went into his garage, whereas in the book he's done 6 frames of an internal monologue so far.
Yeah, complaining that, he got picked to go on this thing. He knows something's up, which is why he notices the motorcycle go in and turn around like that. I think if it had been any other time, he wouldn't have thought twice about it.
Right.
Drop the gun, Lieutenant.
And this is right from the book.
Yeah. Although this is like, it's just crazy.
This is another one of those things where it really shows Gordon. Gordon is way more than you ever see him in any other stuff. He's always, I mean, he's a good detective and he's a good cop, but in this you really see he's a force to be reckoned with. Like, if he wanted to be one of these dirty cops, even Batman probably wouldn't be stopping him. Not easily, anyway.
This is a part that they don't show her face in the book, which I feel that in the film they're really hitting that she recognizes him.
Yeah, they definitely
as Bruce
infer
Wayne.
that she gets it more. And really, I mean, there's no way those shadows are going to be on his face like that at that close range for her not to witness it. Now, we were talking about this actually before we started recording, but when he runs out of the thing, he actually takes the kid's bike and starts chasing down on it.
Yeah.
Rather than this weird foot race to
parkour Spider-Man.
Which, I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy parkour stuff before. This really takes the cake for it. I mean, Batman or not. I mean, there's got to be somebody on this. Yeah, like just the jumps and everything he's making, and even
especially this one
when they show this truck pulling away and they show the view of his distance. I mean, it's either just bad animation where they didn't account for it.
Look how far that is.
Like
it's 2 lanes each way,
and he doesn't even. He doesn't even make like a big jump for it.
He walks off the roof and lands on.
Like, if I did that in a video game, I'd be dead.
Yeah. That's the part. I was discussing before we started watching the film, something I brought up to Cop, is that he's way too ginger with the baby. You think that someone who's kidnapping a baby, holding a knife to it, isn't really going to, like, cradle its head and hold it in when the car is turning rapidly?
Well, no, because really, if you think about it, they're not there to kill the baby. They're there to get Gordon to do what they want. Yeah, that's true. And if the child gets hurt, they already saw Gordon's willing to kill them. Gordon would go ballistic.
Yeah, that's true. But he really doesn't look like the kind of person who knows how to take care of a baby. That's all I'm saying.
It's kind of a shame that they don't have all Gordon's inner monologue, where like one of his first thoughts is he's after the car crashes, he's not hearing his son crying.
Yeah, I don't hear my baby cry. Car crashes, I don't hear my baby cry. I'd be worried too.
I mean, this part coming up is just...
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how any of them make it through it all right.
I think actually what happens is in the middle of the bridge, the water is deeper. So Bruce jumps down, catches the baby, and he would do a roll so that he lands on his back, holding the baby up, cushioning the fall. They wade out a little bit to where it's way too shallow, I agree, for what it should be.
And even in the book, it's less than knee deep, because the Roman's nephew is laying in the water, and he's not covered all the way.
And plus, how did Barbara know that they were going to be on the bridge to take a taxi to it? Just saying.
She probably just said, follow the destruction.
That's true. Yeah.
There was a guy chasing a car, shooting a gun at it.
Yeah.
Can you just follow them? I mean, it's Gotham. It's a seedy titty. A seedy city. But really, how many situations are like that?
Yeah. There's
They didn't.
Good.
No, you can go ahead.
There's one line that I don't think that they bring up in the movie here, is that Sarah's in New York doing well, I hear. Yeah, see, like, they just skip over that line. It really shows that he's still thinking about her. He knows that what he did was wrong, but he loved her. Like, he flat out loved her. And I don't think they said it in the film, but they flat out say it in the book.
Well, they also cut the scene out, or they added the scene to the movie.
Oh, Brandon.
With Brandon and the police still ripping the newspaper.
Right.
And I like how the end of this alludes to the next time being the Joker that is the villain. And not that they haven't followed it up with any book or anything. Or, I'm sorry, with any movie, but they do follow it up in the books with some of the other other stories that stay in the year one continuity,
Right.
where he does end up going after the Joker in that year one thing. I believe it's The Man Who Laughs is actually that story. And there's a few stories that actually take place between it that lead up to that, and it's a really interesting way to get into Batman if you never read anything before, especially because it's 80 year or 70 some odd years worth of stories, and even with the New 52 reset, it's weird to get into.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get that basic.
Yeah, you can still go through.
You can get that basic idea of, okay, here's how everything started.
Right.
And you can get the first several years of him being Batman.
Yeah.
All the way up through him, recruiting Robin and all. And then jump into the newer comics, and you'll kind of feel like you have a more even footing going in, and you're not just like, well, who's this little kid? Why is Batman doing this?
Right.
Why does Gordon have this?
Yeah, something that, you pull from the, Kevin Smith, the Fat Man on Batman, the interview with Mark Hamill, he kind of explains that Robin always had to be a kid because no one else you would have to be crazy to do everything that Batman's telling you to do, unless you're a kid and you're impressionable. And that kind of stuck with me. And really, spoiler alert, but, the year one, and then it goes into some of the flashbacks from Killing Joke and whatnot, the whole Jason Todd storyline with the red mask and everything, or the red hood, that all, they're some of my favorite Batman stories. So, well, I think it's a good place to wrap up. So,
yeah, I mean, that was the entire movie there.
Alright, so that wraps up our first episode of That's Not What Happened.
Thanks, everyone, for sitting through it with us.
Listening, watching, whatever you ended up doing. On our next episode, we plan on doing this once a month. It starts getting really popular. We'll start doing it more often. Like I said, we have tons of ideas of this. And we're kind of expanded past comic books as well. We're thinking about reboots. We're thinking about remakes. Everything under the sun. Even influential, the Batman Begins, or something as long as the Watchmen.
Yeah. So if you're not a big fan of comic books, keep an eye out for us, because we'll probably do something about the new RoboCop movie coming out when that comes out, or
I'll suggest something. We'll look into it.
Yeah, there's. I mean, all Hollywood is right now are remakes and reboots of other series. So we'd love to go through and watch them and complain about how crappy the new ones are compared to the old ones.
Absolutely. And so our next project, I think, is going to be Planet Hulk, one of my personal favorite comic books, as well as the animated, pretty good. So that's where we're going from here, and I'll see you next time. I'm Vogel,
and I'm Chris,
and that's not what happened.
Just another family torn. It's just another kill. The countdown begins to destroy us.